Greetings, friends. I'm Mark Chambers, and with me is my dear wife, Kerry-Ann Chambers. And we'd like to share this moment with you, addressing certain questions on the issue of relationships and marriage.
Well, let us hear our first question. We have received some very interesting questions, but let's read the first one. What are some important considerations for a couple contemplating marriage? That's a very important question.
Yes, it is. And in general, there's one particular rule, and that's compatibility. You want to make sure that that both of you are compatible, especially in the area of, first of all, in the area of your faith and your convictions. You want to make sure that if you're a Christian, that person is a Christian. You want to make sure that there's compatibility between both of you in terms of your spirituality, your religious outlook. Why is this so important? Because perhaps when you're single, it might not seem so important, but when you consider that you might in the future have children, what are the values, what are the spiritual values that you want to leave with your children?
Indeed.
And if you want to leave certain values, you need to have all the advantage that you need to be able to reinforce those values in your children. It will not help for your spouse to be contradicting them.
Indeed.
So, first place where you want to establish and make sure that you have compatibility is in the spiritual area, area of faith and religion. Also in general values. General values, moral values, manners,
exactly.
Decorum. That's very important. There must be also compatibility because you want to establish a certain culture in your home.
What about goals in life?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
That we both agree and see that we will be striving together, working together toward some similar objective in life.
That's very important. You want to make sure, you want to be, well, these are things that you would want to discuss. Definitely, how are you going to know if there is this type of compatibility?
Exactly.
You have to converse specifically, not just empty conversation. That's okay for some time, but when you're really contemplating whether or not this person is the one for you to join you in lifelong marriage, then there has to be sober conversations about these matters. Exactly. And about your goals. Where would you like to live? What are your career options, and what are your career choices?
Exactly, your livelihood.
Yes. Would you like to have children?
Yes.
How many children would you like? How do you plan to educate them?
Exactly.
And will you be able to manage to do that?
Exactly. This is so important, and we cannot overemphasize the necessity of spending time together, knowing each other, and finding if we really are going to complement each other, in working together in this marriage and in the family that later on the Lord will bless us with. So spend some time with your partner, your courtship, and talk about these very important issues in life.
Open conversations are very helpful and very important, because when you're able to establish open and honest conversations from before marriage, this will be a plus in your marriage.
Definitely, definitely. And something here worthy of note is that one of the most common complaints or causes for divorce is incompatibility. So you want to avoid that. You want to spend the time knowing each other and also receiving the counsel of your parents, of those persons who you trust, your spiritual mentors, your pastor, and talk about these issues in life. Listen also to their guidance. They know you, they know both families, they know you, I believe they all wish the best for this new couple. So listen carefully and see if you are willing, to make a long life commitment to this person. I think it's also important that you're able to recognize the failures or shortcomings of your future spouse.
Yeah.
Many of us are, there is a period during the courtship period that we are very idealistic and sometimes even blind. We are so full with the love and the emotion of the courtship that sometimes we don't see some of the faults or some of the shortcomings or mistakes in ourselves in the first place and also in the other person. So if you see any red flag in yourself or your future spouse, these things also need to be a matter of conversation and see if you are willing to live with those shortcomings.
Yeah. And that's why an open ear for counsel, for good counsel, is also very important.
Very important. Well, let's listen to our second question. It says, Pastor Mark, what is normally the most difficult period in a marriage?
Well, the most difficult period is in the beginning of the marriage.
Well,
after you descend from the honeymoon, or after you do the moon.
After you landed from the moon.
After you land from the moon, yeah.
Yeah, I do agree.
The first 3 years in a marriage are the most critical.
Indeed.
These are the years that require adjustment, getting to know the person. Well, of course, you need to get to know, to a degree, the person before you get married.
Absolutely.
But knowing the person in courtship and knowing the person at home is two different things.
Living with the person.
It's at another level. When you're living, in Jamaica we have a saying, see me and come live with me are two different something.
Indeed, yes, definitely. And that, every couple need a period of adjustment. Each one of us, when we come together, yes, there are many things that we wish to build together, but yet we're coming from different homes, from different upbringings. Now we have to adjust and make our own home. It's no longer the home of my parents. It's no longer the home of his parents. So now we have to sit together and see, okay, how are we going to do it? What are going to be the basic rules that are going to apply in our home? How are we going to build together this relationship? How do we communicate? How do we even administer the chores at home? So it takes a time to adjust. But with God's help and patience and good communication, we all go through it. And you can succeed.
Yeah, every home has its own culture. So you learn to do things differently. And sometimes there can be clashes, even in very little matters.
Little matters.
Yeah. Like how you squeeze a toothpaste.
Oh,
yeah.
I know that person.
Yeah, and and other issues. So it's a challenge when you've ever heard of culture shock? Well, in marriage there's culture shock too. So.
It happens. Now, what can be done during this period of adjustment to make it more enjoyable? That is not just a period of clash and discussion, or do things my way or doing things your way, but how can we do it in meaningful and go over these different challenges?
Yeah, you want to make sure you establish clear and effective communication.
That is key.
Open communication where you can express yourself or even express differences without judgmental or accusative manner.
Respectfully, yes, and openly.
Yeah.
What about when we start this new home? Is it important to guard it, to guard this sacred home, this circle?
The sacred circle needs to be established. You need to establish limits for as to what is your circle as a couple. And that means to establish that, you have to also do that in communicating with others, friends and relatives, so that they can respect those boundaries and not encroach uncomfortably to the to the discomfort of your spouse. This is very important.
It is.
You know, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, there's a very important admonition. It says, therefore, Genesis 2, verse 24, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. So, you know, the objective, an objective of a successful marriage is unity, union. But here, according to the scriptures, a condition for cleaving is leaving. You must be willing to leave, not only bodily, well, first, of course, you must be willing to leave the protection of your paternal or maternal home. That means you need to have a place where you can establish your marital home, or your marital home. Your parents' home is not your marital home. Yeah. That's their home. That's their home. So you want to have some place where you can enjoy privacy and enjoy sufficient distance from the interference of parents and brothers and sisters, you know. So it's very important. Also,
at least at the beginning, to have that.
And also it's important not only physically to have privacy, but it's also important that you establish independence, you know, independence from your parents, both financially, emotionally, socially. Because here marriage is calling upon you, is requiring of you new responsibilities. You know, God wants you to be a successful head of the home as a man, and He wants you as a woman to be a truly successful, suitable helper to your husband, or compatible helper to your husband. So you have to take responsibility as a male for the provision of, for the financial security of your home, of yourself and your wife. And also as a female, you want to be able to establish skills in, you know, looking out for the well-being and the health of your husband. You're going to make sure that he's eating properly, he's eating right, and that his clothes are taken care of, he doesn't look shabby when he goes out, and things like that.
So, and that takes time.
Yeah.
That takes time. This is a period of adjustment, because in our homes, we're children. And we are accustomed to do things a certain way. But now that we come together, we have then to assume our own responsibilities. In some cases, as we start together, maybe it will require sacrifice in some areas so that we can build in another. Okay? And
you know, in some cultures, some parents are reticent to let children go, and that you will probably hear in some cultures you'll hear common statements like this from the parents. Well, you know, why would you don't have your own house as yet, and you're going to go and you'll be spending money on rent. Why don't you? We have an apartment here. Why don't you stay here with us and save money until you can
or even in the same household.
Yeah, well, well, definitely. If it won't work in the apartment, it's not going to work in. So that's not a good idea. You know, the beginning, the first years of marriage and that adjustment period is critical. It's like the period in which the butterfly leaves his cocoon. And when he comes out of the cocoon, he's trying to stretch his wings. Now you imagine a butterfly there
Fighting.
stretching and
Yeah.
trying to push his wings, and he's there trembling with the wing, and then a little child comes and he says, "Oh, what a pretty butterfly! Oh, butterfly, are you trying to spread your wings?
Let me help you.
Oh, let me help you." And he goes and he just stretches that wing. Well, what would happen to that butterfly?
He won't fly.
It will not be able to fly because it would not have been able to develop, to strengthen the muscles needed to move that wing, and that would be the death of the butterfly. Well, marriage is pretty much similar. And sadly, many parents, well-meaning parents, when they bring suggestions like that, do not understand what they're doing. This little period is a little gateway for that young man and for that young woman to develop as husband and as wife. And they need that space for them to push and struggle together
and pray
to
together.
reach to that balance
Yes,
with God's help.
definitely.
So, if you want success for your children in their marriage, then
Give them
allow
space.
them to
With
have the
good
space.
counseling, with good counseling and care. And lastly, on this adjustment period, it is a very important time for you to know yourself intimately.
Yes.
To bond as a couple.
So we wouldn't recommend. We would recommend that you take advantage of that time together. You know, put off parenting. You know, put off parenting for a year or even two, and get to build sweet memories, nice memories together before you meet the challenge and the responsibility of parenting.
Yes.
It makes a difference.
Definitely, you know, and it's difficult when you're just adjusting as a couple, and then suddenly you find yourself with another responsibility. You know, some of us know how difficult it is. So if you are contemplating marriage, or are you in this first period of your marriage, take time to know each other. Take time to bond. Take time to pray for one another, you know, to build your relationship. Because if there is something that children will need, is a couple or parents who are solid in their love, you know, in their relationship and in their commitment. And it takes time to build that commitment. Well, we are happy to be able to share some of these ideas and concepts with you. And of course, we welcome your questions. So please write in the comment section below some of the questions that you have about marriage and relationship. And we will be more than willing to share with you. And of course, we pray that God will continue to bless and guide you every step of the way.